Hi, it's Anne here, and today's video is my 6th update for my Pan That palette for 2023. So how I'm doing this project is I have an eyeshadow palette and then I have face palettes. Face palettes are rotating like every 3 months, but the eyeshadow palette's kind of going throughout the year, but I've been adding and changing it up a little bit here and there as I go along. So let's just get straight into it. Let's start off with the eyeshadow palette. So I am using a custom eyeshadow palette. These are, I think, yes, everything in this is eyeshadows that were in other palettes that I've pulled apart and put in here. I've got lots of pan going on. I need to repress a couple of shades, but this is what we're looking at. This one down here looks like there's nothing, but that's just a white shadow. So the white shadow here, let me get my numbers so I can see them. Last month this was 1.25 grams. It's now 1.24 grams. That's a difference of 0.01 grams. This pink one last month was 1.04 grams. It's now 1.03 grams. So that's a difference of 0.01 grams as well. This one's the one that I've been using quite a bit, and I definitely want to repress this one. And I think while I'm repressing this one, I might repress a couple others. This one was from a NYX palette, and it was 1.28 grams. It's now 1.22 grams. That's a difference of 0.06 grams. This one I haven't really used at all. There's no weight change. Last month it was 1.2 grams. It's still 1.2 grams. That one was also from a NYX Warm Neutrals palette. These two right here, these sort of like orangey, peachy shades, I just added those last month. They are both from the Carly Bible BH Cosmetics Deluxe Edition palette. This one I've actually done a lot more damage on than I anticipated. I thought for sure that one wouldn't really have as much progress, but it actually does. I'm going to turn the lighting down a little bit. It's really dark, so I have the lighting like really high. Maybe if I'm looking at the palette, maybe that's a little easier to see. Yeah, I've done a lot more on that than I thought. I kind of was not anticipating finishing it, but I could get pretty close. I don't see myself using these two shades past August, so I'm probably going to pull them out at the end, like at next update. So this one had, last month it was 1.35, it's now 1.31, so that's a difference of 0.04. This one's a confusing one because I have used this one a lot, but there's no weight change, so I don't really know what the deal is with that one. It was 1.53, it's still 1.53. These two I added in. So last month, I guess I should have weighed those from last month, but I didn't use them because I pulled them out like basically right after the video last month. I did have a shade called Pewter from Pure Nata and a shade called Morocco from Transylvania. I swapped them out for these two shades, which were, they're kind of lighter but similar in tone, like a gray and a brown. This one is from a Maybelline palette. I can't tell you what the name of the palette was. It had like two grays, a pink and like a cream color. I really liked the quad, so that's why I actually kept a few shades. Actually, no, this one might have been, there was a gray, I had like a gray quad, so that's maybe where that one was from. So this one I did add in at the beginning of like, or shortly after I filmed my last update. So last update, essentially, it was 3.55 grams and it's now 3.54 grams. And then this one was from one of the Rimmel palettes. I'm not sure which one specifically it was from. I want to say maybe the crimson one. I don't think I used it. I maybe used it once. So I have to get around to using this one a little bit more. It's just, I don't feel like wearing darker browns in the summertime. It's not my vibe right now. It was 2.12 grams and it's still 2.12 grams. So that's what this palette is looking like. I will throw up the side by side so you can see the difference. Obviously it's going to look a little different because I've added a couple of different shades in here. But yeah, I feel like this is working really well for me. I am going to add, so I keep this middle part's empty because I'm going to throw in a couple shadows. I like to throw in 1 or 2 shadows just like from my singles. I'm kind of rotating through them and using them here and there. But I am going to throw in, I'm probably, like I said, I'm going to probably take these two out at the end of next month. I was going to just throw in 1 shadow, but I have a second shadow that I'm going to throw in as well. And both of those are 2 that I actually think I can finish. So I feel like if I'm looking at this, there's probably 3 shadows I can finish by the end of the year if I think about those 2 shadows, and I feel like it's going to be this one. I was thinking I was going to maybe finish this one, but that one's a maybe now. Like, I don't know. Like, it's still a maybe, but I can definitely see myself finishing this one. So I feel good about that. Like, I feel like this is working for me. I feel like when I think about Pan That palettes in the past, trying to do a whole palette is kind of overwhelming. And I'm thinking for next year, instead of even maybe pulling, you know, single shadows out and putting them in here, I might just grab a palette and like focus on one shadow in that palette and then move on to like another palette, or like pull a couple of palettes and just focus on one shadow in each of those palettes. It's going to be kind of a pain to have like the palettes, you know, out and like clutter. But I feel like instead of focusing on an entire palette, but just focusing on one or two shades within a palette, it's easier for my brain to handle. It's a little simpler, and I feel like it gives me more freedom to play with my other palettes. I've really enjoyed, at the beginning of this year, I was kind of talking about like palettes I was picking each month. I've dropped that whole thing. I've really just been super loosey-goosey with using palettes lately. I've just kind of been pulling stuff, using a shade here and there. I'll probably, again, I keep thinking about, you know, moving forward to a different project to focus on palettes, but right now I'm just enjoying not caring about that aspect so much and just sort of enjoying my palettes as they are and not making, like, putting pressure on myself to use everything, or like, yeah, no pan left behind kind of thing, or like getting through all my palettes. Like, I'm not putting that pressure on myself right now. It's just not working for me. So there's that. So for face palettes, I actually have two face palettes this round because they serve different purposes. This one's a blush palette. This one is a highlight palette. So let's talk about the blush palette first. It is the Jouer Cheeky Summer Blush Duo, and it's going along. There is a good weight change on this, for at least for me, for a blush palette, but it's not going to really show, I don't think, any difference. I have to be super careful with this. This came from Beautylish, and this, oh, I just lost a piece of it. This whole thing fell out, so you can see it's very crumbly, and yeah, I just lost some of it. So I'm trying to like keep pressing it in, but it like just kind of keeps getting loose. That's the one I've been using more. This one's interesting. It's almost like a bronzer, like it's the blushy blonde. Like if you were ever looking for a bronzer and you were wanting those like bare mineral ones that don't exist, I don't know if this palette still exists, but this shade in here, it's like called, let me turn it over, it's called Terracotta Sands. Is definitely that sort of aspect. Like, it really is very close to, especially the bronzer that I'm using in my Project Pan, that's a reddish bronzer. They kind of really blend together. So sometimes I've just been kind of using this like all over. I haven't used this shade a whole lot compared to this one. I've been using this one more. My goal is to kind of wear down that imprint on this one. Like, again, I don't think I can do that on both, but maybe on this one. I will put up the side by side, but I don't think it's really going to show much of a difference other than this poor shade that just keeps on crumbling. I mean, I could maybe try and repress this. I don't want to. I really don't want to repress it. I don't think it's going to help in any aspect. So from a weight perspective, last month this was 106 grams, and it's now 105.89 grams. That's a difference of 0.11 grams. I think that's pretty good for me, considering I'm using other blushes. Like, this isn't an exclusive product that I'm using. I'm using other things. And then the highlight palette that I'm using is the ABH Glow Kit in Sun Dipped. I have been seeing this in Winners and Marshalls. It's got different packaging though. It's got sort of like a chevron, I think chevron pattern. And it's a bit more pink, whereas this one's a bit more brown. And it's just plain. But yeah, I got this in a Lucky Bag in 2018. So definitely need to use this because I feel like it's a product that I just have not focused on. So I'm really, really enjoying using this. Actually, for my eyeshadow today, I have a Laura Mercier Caviar stick in Moonlight as my base, and then I have that like mid-tone, that light brown in my crease shade, the one that I want to repress. And then I have this all over the lid, and then I have a little bit of the white on the inner corner. And that's a look I've done a couple of times now. That's why I actually did it for this video, because I've done it a couple times. I'm like, man, I really like the way that looks. It's sort of like a gray brown, although now I've heard that there's some sort of latte eye. I don't even know what it is. Somebody tell me. I should just look it up. There's like a latte eye trend. I don't know. I'm guessing it's a TikTok thing. I am just still not really in the TikTok realm of things. But anyway, so yeah, I'm really enjoying the way that sort of like gray brown eye look is working. Especially for me, I love, like, that's sort of a throwback to me, because I've talked about this whole taupe eyeshadow thing. Like, that was my jam when I first started wearing makeup. So anyway, I do weigh these individually because the whole thing is too heavy for my jewelry scale. This shade is the one I haven't really used at all. This is the bronze shade. And yeah, I keep saying I'm going to go around using this one. It's just one I don't use. So it was 12.77 grams. It's still 12.77 grams. This shade in Summer, I typically mix these two together when I use Summer. So last month's Summer was 12.44 grams. It's now 12.38 grams. That's a difference of 0.06 grams. This is the one that I use the most because I mix these two together, or I mix these two together, or I use this one on my own. It's the one, use this one on its own, on my own, on its own. It's in the shade Moonstone, if I didn't say that. It's a nice pink. I like a pink highlight. I have these two on today. That's my highlight for today, is these two mixed together. Well, it's sort of, I put this on first, and then I decided to throw a bit of this on top. So it is the two of them. I just didn't mix them together. I applied them separately. I layered them up. So last month this was 12.31 grams. It's now 12.22 grams. So that's a difference of 0.09 grams. And then the shade Tourmaline, which looks so dark in the pan, but it's such a pretty color. Like, that's the main highlight I have on. And then again, that's the eyeshadow I have on. It's like a really nice, I don't know, it's a really interesting color. And I really, really enjoy it. Last month it was 13 grams, and it is now 12.98 grams. That's a difference of 0.02 grams. I thought that would be higher. I really did. Like, no, that one was a womp for me, but I definitely, I am enjoying using it. So it's been kind of nice playing with this palette because it's just been a forgotten item in my collection. Again, I'll throw the side by side up, but it's not going to show any difference. The only shade that I feel has a bit of a dip is Tourmaline, and again, that's because I've been using an eyeshadow brush in the middle, so it's getting a bit of a dip. But the other ones don't really have any sort of like dip at all. Well, Moonstone has a little bit. Oh man, my battery died like just as I was like trying to wrap up this video. I was like, I thought I'd make it through the whole video. And I also realized that I turned that lighting down when I was showing my eyeshadow palette and never turned it back up again. So I'm hoping I'm going to try and fix the lighting a little bit, so it's not quite so dark for that first bit, but it's a bit better now. It's super dark outside. It's raining, which we need though, because like, whew, it's getting real hot there. So anyway, yeah, I'm really enjoying this project. I'm enjoying watching how other people are doing their eyeshadow palettes this year. Again, a lot of people are doing like the Level Up project and stuff. Yeah, I'm realizing, I think for me, that less is more. I like to do an eyeshadow project, but I think for me, I need to keep it simple and not too overwhelming to make it feel productive and allow me to still play with all my other stuff. So anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, feel free to give it a little thumbs up down below. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you subscribe to my channel here in Toronto, Canada. Yes, my wrist is cracked. I hope you're doing well, and I'll see you sometime soon. Bye.